Hi, so in this video, I want to introduce you to ARP spoofing. So let's get started here. So here is our same topology that we used in the previous ARP video. We have PCA, PCB, server C, and the router. All right. Well, what happens when we have this bad person here? Okay, and let's see what they want to do. Notice that they have in their ARP table, they have both the IP addresses and associated MAC addresses for PCA and the default gateway, the router here. And they can get that any number of ways, including their own, just doing an ARP request. All right, so it's first, the bad person's first target is PCA. So they're going to build an ARP reply. This is also known as a gratuitous ARP. That means PCA maybe didn't even send out an ARP request recently, but server C is going to send an ARP reply to it anyway. Okay, the target 192.168.1.100 and its MAC address. Okay, there we go. And the sender's IPv4 address, oh, what is the sender sending? It's sending the IP address of the router, 192.168.1.1. But here's what's key. It's sending not the router's MAC address, but its own MAC address. All right, so that is what it's going to use to, well, we're going to see in a moment, poison this table. All right, so in the Ethernet header, it sends it from its own MAC address, destination MAC address of PCA, and it's an ARP message. So it sends that out. When PCA receives this ARP reply, there's no security built into ARP. So not anything inherently. We'll talk about how to mitigate this in a moment here. But anyway, it receives this ARP reply, and what does it do? Oh, I got some newer information. The MAC address associated with 192.168.1.1 is quad C. It's ARP table. This entry has just been poisoned. All right. So this bad person is going to send out another ARP reply to another target, the router. Okay, so the router, it's sending it to 192.168.1.1, its MAC address, and it says, hey, I'm 192.168.1.100. And here's, again, my MAC address. Okay, I'm not giving you the MAC address of the legitimate owner or of 192.168.1.100. I'm giving you my MAC address. Okay, so I'm sending that from my MAC address directly to you, ARP message. So that gets sent out to the router. Now the router receives this gratuitous ARP reply, and now it updates its ARP table, and this entry has also been poisoned. So what does this mean? When PCA has packets to send to another network, what is it going to do? Okay, it's going to use that poisoned entry, quad C. So in this example here, it's sending into that destination IP address 10.10.10.50. So it's got encapsulated in a frame to send it, this packet to the destination MAC address of its default gateway. That MAC address has been poisoned in its ARP table. So what it's going to do, it's going to send them to not quad D, but to the bad person, okay, at quad C. Okay, what this bad person does is it will then forward those, it will capture those frames with those packets inside, and it will forward them onto the router. Now, what happens when the router has packets to return back to 192.168.1.1 or any packets to send to 192.168.1.1? What it's going to do, okay, is it's going to say, oh, let's see, I'm going to send those to you at 192.168.1.100. My MAC address table tells me you're at quad C. So I'm sending them to the bad person as well. The bad person captures those and then forwards them on to the actual PCA 192.168.1.100. So as you're seeing here, what's happening here is all the packets that are going from PCA out past the router are going through the bad person. And everything coming back in from the router back to PCA is also going through the bad person. Okay, this is known as ARP spoofing. It is a man-in-the-middle attack, or also known as an on-path attack. This allows this bad person to capture everything that's happening. Now, one of the things that we can help as far as users is to be using protocols like HTTPS and not HTTP. We talk about this later. That even if this bad person captures that data, okay, the data they're not going to be able to see what's inside that data because it's actually encrypted. All right, but there are many things that are vulnerable to this kind of attack. So how do we mitigate this attack? Well, on the switches, as far as Cisco goes, and there's other vendors have similar solutions. It's mitigated on Cisco switches using a combination of something called dynamic ARP inspection and DHCP snooping. I talk about this later, actually in different classes and stuff. But what this does is that will keep this from happening. And that bad person, see you later. All right, I hope you found this video interesting, and I hope you have a wonderful day.